skill.
In digital specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. I've got a dog.
Yeah, it's probably going to block the camera at some point.
Has Amy been on a podcast yet?
Yeah, ages ago though, when he were a bit more of a youth.
I've definitely had been one that I've been on when he was a puppy.
Yeah.
I've not seen him in the frame for a while.
Well, he can't really be missed, can he?
Just about fits.
He's normally in the way one way or another.
So, topic for today is something that I think is very relevant for both of us, which is skills that we'd kind of recommend for somebody that's maybe starting out in a digital marketing career, maybe looking to enhance the skills they already have or change a career path or whatever else, and kind of where we'd actually focus our learnings and what we'd actually recommend as a starting point, and the really important skills that you actually need, which aren't necessarily the ones that are covered in a degree.
No.
So yeah, I think we'll look at sort of core skills that we'd recommend people kind of master or really hone. Any advice for people entering the field, how to then keep upskilling and stay relevant in what is a very fast moving, changing field as well. And where we'd sort of go to for like tools, resources, and where we'd sort of send people for stuff like that. So I think starting point, what do you think are sort of those key foundations for starting a digital marketing career? Where would you kind of start?
If I was looking to start, I guess, two things. I'm trying to think of how I would look at someone if they were approaching us to work here. I think interning somewhere would be, let's say you're not going down the education route like uni, intern would be my first step, I think, getting in somewhere so that you're in the right environment.
Yeah, because it's actually not just about direct skills. It's also, marketing's a very different environment to lots of other businesses.
So the two things that I would focus on would be communication. Build on being a good communicator, verbally, written, email, phone, basic, but the better you are at communicating, the better you will be moving forwards. And then I would also figure out how to support yourself in just getting shit done. Super underrated skill. And that's where I'd start. Get yourself in the right environment. Look at your communication style. Think how you could become more effective when it comes to communication. And set yourself up to be able to just get shit done.
I think that's a little bit like understanding yourself, like what is it that you need and what works best for your head to just get stuff done.
But I think people miss that because they're so focused on what skills do I need to do X, Y, and Z. When in reality, if you're starting out, the skills that you need to do that can be taught by people that know. The skills that are going to make you stand out, in my opinion, are the ones that I've just discussed.
Do you know the other one I'd throw in there? Like some understanding of like behavioural science.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really good workplace skill, like understanding people and why they do things. And it also helps massively with communication.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like something that I don't think we focus on enough sometimes in marketing. Like, you know, coming up with ideas and trying to understand our audience, it all comes down to behaviour. And if you've got some knowledge of that and some real understanding of that, that can influence absolutely everything.
Yep, I agree with that. It's good. Good area to focus on.
Mm-hmm. if you're going a little bit more specific then,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like, okay, so, I want to apply for a digital marketing job. I've done my internship. I've done all those basic bits. Now I want to start learning some like specific skills.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think you'd start? Would it be like paid ads? Would you be like get a grasp of SEO, social media?
If you've been through education and you've sort of had the opportunity to taste all of those areas, you're probably going to have an inkling of where you want to spend your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, then I would suggest tasting all those different things, and the environment is the place to do it. Like, get in somewhere that does all that, and then you can see where you're going to be best suited. And that can change as well. Like, you might do one thing and think great, and then once the honeymoon period wears off, you might want to do something else. Great. I think a full stack marketer in certainly today's climate is valuable.
Yeah, you don't need to be a specialist in every single subject.
Not necessarily, no.
I think as well, if you're somebody that does get, a bit bored or likes to flit around a lot, there's certain specialisms that involve a lot more of that. So like social media, for example, that works really well for me because it constantly changes and you've constantly got new things to figure out. You're constantly experimenting. Obviously, this applies to like loads of different specialisms, but I think that can be quite a good one if you've kind of got, you enjoy that sort of like fast, like it changes week to week basically, which can be a nightmare, but
daily.
Daily, yeah.
I think that's interesting. Something I'm thinking a lot about at the moment is the quality and the craft, because I think technology is enabling the technical skills to be just available.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it comes down to the craft, and I think you get craft by experience, through environment, through doing, getting shit done.
And understanding people.
And I think that's where the value is going to just increase, which is tricky because as someone starting out, you've got to do it to get to that point.
Yeah, you really do. So sort of this is something that we do quite a lot of when we're writing like captions and stuff for like socials, for example. Like often as this, I'll get brought, I don't know, some caption and I'm like, what's it actually saying? That's not saying anything. Like that's, if you'd ask, say, AI to write a caption, all it tends to do is describe the video and repeat what's going on in it. But actually, what a human can do is really craft it to something really bespoke that's actually got meaning behind it and means something to your audience.
We're going to see a wave of that becoming one of the most valuable things, I think, because we're just sort of going into everybody adopting AI for whatever they can, really, which is meaning that you're seeing a lot of the same things because the capability of the technology only reaches so far. So everybody's using it for what they think is the best at that time. But it does come down to understanding the audience, the craft, being able to look at something and think that's not going to resonate.
And understand like why it's not going to, like, a lot of that's not just understanding like people, it's understanding what's going on in the wider world. And often that's a little bit overlooked sometimes, I think, in strategies, what's actually the bigger picture, what else are people seeing in their feed, what else are people reading about in the news, and where's this going to sit in that? You might feel like it's completely irrelevant, but it never ever is. They all link. And that's another thing that people do tend to forget. So I think building that as well into your career early doors, where you're kind of always a little bit aware of what's going on. And to succeed in marketing, you kind of have to be in social media platforms, you have to be on news channels, you have to be aware of what's going on. And it can be quite all-consuming, but I actually think it's super, super important to succeeding and really understanding what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to keep up, isn't it? But it's hard to shift your mindset out of that as well once you're in it.
Yeah.
I think it creates a busy mind.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question. I know your answer.
Why ask me that?
Because not everybody knows your answer. Do you need a degree in marketing?
No. I don't think you need a degree, full stop.
We've talked about this before. There's definitely things where you need a degree.
I don't think we're long for most things not needing a degree. I think education is just completely not designed to prepare people to succeed in the current world.
I think it's become a bit saturated as well, like in terms of the amount of degrees you can get. You know, it used to be you'd go to university to study certain things, you know, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, and now you can kind of go and do like anything, and it's a degree.
Yep.
But it doesn't necessarily always mean that much. But marketing, like I don't have a marketing degree, so I don't really know what the course is, but from my understanding, there's a lot of, and from, you know, listening to people that do and have then gone on to do jobs in the field and things like that, there's a lot of things that you learn that then you never use again.
Everyone I speak to that's had a marketing related degree has said that they've never used anything from the material that they learn.
You're always going into a job.
We've had graduates come in and go, I've learnt more in the first 2 weeks than I learnt in the last 3 years of doing my degree. I'm like, all right, okay. Value for 30 grand. Yeah.
Yeah. Just go get a job.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a different topic, isn't it?
Yeah. What about, but I do think there is some worth in other courses. So like, for example, you know, you do like, I don't know, the HubSpot courses and things like that, because they're often way more reactive and way more like hands-on with what's actually happening in the marketing world and skills that you actually use on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If you're that type of learner.
It does come down to, I think where courses and like structured education has value is if people don't have natural curiosity or drive to learn.
But also, like, a lot of people, because you've grown up learning like that, for some people they find it really hard to learn in another way, because that's literally how we've been taught to learn. Yeah,
I've got fractured opinions on it. I mean, the way that I would suggest if someone doesn't have a degree, learning in today's, like today, would be go subscribe to a Gen AI tool, build a project in a topic, use that as your research, engage with it, build a database almost of that topic, and do that for every element of the role or the area of expertise that you're looking to learn in, and you just catalogue it, use it as a catalogue.
Yeah, it's like a little Bible.
AI is going to get better, and it's going to become more current, and it's going to give you access to information at scale that you wouldn't be able to get through traditional learning.
What skills then do you think are now obsolete now that we've got AI so readily available? Like things that you might once have looked for.
It's hard to pin what's obsolete. I think what it has enhanced is technical processes, obviously, that can be done autonomously.
Like data.
Yeah, data. It's
commoditizing
data.
Yeah.
It's commoditizing information. That's why I'm thinking more and more like the craft and the experience is where the value comes in, because it allows you to have more time to deliver that. And I think that's perhaps something that has fallen away a little bit in terms of so many processes and so much heavy lifting and so much back end work involved in getting to a point where you're delivering an output, that budgets have been shrinking for the last 4 years, so time's been getting squeezed, so the end result has been almost shortcutted.
Yeah, rushed. Yeah.
Whereas I think the scales are going to start to come back into balance with the efficiencies that AI will deliver, meaning marketers that are good and that have the experience will be able to spend more time on the craft and the output, and it'll mean that the market shifts to creating impactful experiences which is ultimately what brands need to be doing, and also it's what is going to make them stand out in a world where we're becoming more disconnected than ever. We don't have as much face-to-face time. We're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. It's like those experiences that you can generate are going to become more and more important. And I think the evolution of AI is going to allow marketers and agencies to deliver that.
How would you, if we, like from a business point of view, say we brought somebody in, how would we teach them this? How would you teach them that?
I'm trying to figure that out, to be honest. It's a shift in how we're communicating the value in the services that we already deliver to clients. And it's hard to develop a framework or a set of rules for staff to follow that delivers efficiency because it's so vast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that it's evolving it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
We've never been in a time where tech has advanced at speed like this. So it's ever changing. But I think the one thing that I've said for the last 5 years is, if we can improve efficiency, do it, because it gives you more time to spend in better places. I think now the other question that I would ask the team to ask themselves would be, whenever you start something, whatever it is, an email, a piece of analysis, an ideation, whatever, the first thing that should come into your head is, can I do this better or faster with AI?
I think there is, so I'll tell you a way that I use it a lot, right? Is I might like write something and then I might say to it like, I think this is like a really key phrase, like, do not rewrite this, but make me some suggestions that you do to improve it. And then I'm reading those suggestions, and some of them I'm like, no, I don't need that. I know I don't need that. But some of them you're like, oh, do you know what? Actually, that's a very good point. And then you're taking that and using that to improve what you do. So you're actually learning as well, because the next time you do it, you might just do that automatically because you've done it once, you've learned from it. You've gone, oh yeah, that was a really good point, and that added to this. But I think that's the thing that people like, and just from talking to people in the business, people are like, oh, I've never thought of doing that. It's like, yeah, well, as soon as you've asked it to rewrite it, you've read that and that's already in your head.
But context is one of the advancements that they're trying to get right. Reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing all these models now that are thinking better and reasoning better. And that's where, like I gave that example of using it for your learning.
Yeah.
You can set rules right at the start
yeah.
that fall into how you want to learn and how you want to interact. You don't get that level of personalized learning from a current education setup, do you?
No, but I think that's something that needs to be taught, like how people should be using it.
I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I put money on the bigger institutionalized universities already either developing or have developed their own large language models that will allow students to have that experience and customize learning to each individual student at scale.
Do you think they'll start teaching in schools?
They've got to.
Yeah, they do have to.
They've got to. And this is the part that annoys me with the education system. It's been static for so long that we're still preparing people for an industrial world when it's no longer an industrial world. It's a digital world.
Because it's like, do you remember like being at school, right? And like, obviously when I was at school, like, we used computers in just say like 2 lessons, but then we'd go home and we'd use computers for everything. It's like when you go do an exam and you have to write all by hand, but it's like, you're never gonna, in the real world, you are never gonna write an essay by hand. You're writing on a computer. So why can't we do that? I never understood it, and they still do it now. It's
got to be something that we think about. You think about it in so many different areas. Maths, you've got a calculator in your pocket, and this is something that's been thrown around.
Although I've got to say,
for
like,
a
with
long, long
maths, it's
time.
like understanding the behind. I think there is something understanding behind it, like, you know, knowing why you're doing that calculation, what the calculation is, how you got there, how you get to that formula. You do have to have those basic understandings to then use a calculator.
But there's a difference between literacy in a subject and just following a path.
Yeah.
Like you don't need algebra in your day to day. Yet it's still taught up until a certain age. You need to understand basic language. You need to understand basic grammar. But you're going to type on a computer. It's going to become less and less prevalent that people are writing by hand. Yeah. So they're not going to need to worry about grammar in the same way that you did 50 years ago. Similarly with maths, it's like if I went out into the office now and put an equation on the telly and said solve that, no one would be able to do it off the top of their head.
I'd give it a
go. But do you know what I mean, though? It's like, why are we trying to prepare the next generation of people to exist in a world that just is not aligned with what they're being taught?
Yeah, it's all tailored towards continuing to be academic.
It's crazy. You can live where you want. You can work remotely. We're in a digital world now. It's not, and the longer we push kids going through education down the traditional route, the longer we're going to suffer economically. We should be preparing kids to succeed in today's world, not taking the mindset of we need to institutionalize them so that they'll pay tax.
Yeah, literally.
Because that's how it's structured.
And it's just, I know we're going down a whole rabbit hole here about schools, but like it's just so messed up that we don't teach life skills. But we teach algebra.
But how much more value would it be in
teach kids about
teaching finance,
saving,
communication, teach them how to public speak?
Yeah.
So much value in being able to talk to a group of people confidently.
Yeah.
And with what's going on with social problems and loneliness, why do you think? Oh, it riles me. I think I've got so much worse since I had kids as well. It's just
because you can see where they're going.
I'm just like I'm terrified of my kids reaching an age where they're entering that education system.
Yeah.
And maybe that is unique to this country. I don't think it is, but obviously I know more about this country and maybe North America than anywhere else. But
I think it's a pretty worldwide problem. That
I think that there's too much structure on educating the wrong areas and not enough on how to be a good person in society
and how to, live your life the best way you can without having to worry about certain things because you know them because it's a cool skill.
We've gone way off topic here, haven't we?
Yeah. I don't even know what we're talking about. Digital marketing. That's all we need. Okay, so we'll probably wrap it up because we went way off, but I've got a very quick this or that. I think this is from so think about this as a perspective of if you were starting out, which would you focus on out of this list?
Impartially or in my opinion? Because my opinion is probably quite strong in certain areas.
Heavily weighted.
Yeah, I'll try and do a bit of both.
Do a bit of both. Go on. SEO or paid?
Brand.
No, SEO or paid.
I've ruined it already. Well, SEO, that's my background.
I'd say SEO, but do you know why? Because I think there's a good foundation in SEO that would set you up for paid. I think if you understand how things operate organically, you understand keywords.
But here's the thing. I think they both sort of go hand in hand, more so now than ever before.
Yeah. And
I think if you do one, you can pick up the other with effort. They're both individual skills, but I think you can go from one to the other, or you can understand the other, depending on where you start. But yeah, I mean, the interlink between them both has never been as prevalent as it has now.
Very true. Okay. Analytics or content creation?
chicken and egg, that, isn't it? Because if you don't
without the other.
if you don't do good content, you don't get the data.
The thing is with analytics, like
data is so powerful though.
Data is so powerful, but there's a lot of tools out there that can help you with it.
There is AI being one of them.
AI.
However, data wins arguments. It's fact, craft, and subjectivity come into content.
Yeah.
Data's a bit more black and white, isn't it? It's like, that's what it says.
I had good content creation because that's what I like doing.
But again, this is all...
For a lot of people, that's a starting point. That's how they get into
digital
marketing. So I'd say starting out, don't go in with data because you'll be bored. Go in with...
it depends though, doesn't it?
Go in with content creation, and then you'll be excited by the data that you get off the back of your own content.
Yeah, it does validate it. But again, going back to what I said about SEO and paid, they're hand in hand. Like,
I don't even see the point of asking this one. Certifications are real world experience.
Real life.
I wasn't going to ask it.
Real life.
On my list. Email marketing or social media campaigns?
Social.
Yeah, I agree.
Although 100 super engaged, bought in people on an email list, it's a valuable asset.
Depends what your email list is. Depends what the business is.
You could say the same for social in terms of like followers. I think both of those, I would say, hinge on how strong and loyal your community is.
I think you're going to build...
Which comes down to craft.
It does.
Funnily enough, it comes down to craft.
I think you're going to learn more about your audience from social media.
Totally.
There's more opportunities to engage, and you're going to build a stronger community through social media because that's what it's for.
I agree with that. Social is... organic social is going to have a resurgence.
You can tell because literally all the platforms have completely shaken up what they're doing at the minute.
That's one way of describing it, yeah. That's one way of describing it.